All right. We finally made it, maybe even a little late on the second try. But I guess we'll go ahead and announce it. My name is Bryce Wiener. I'm the lead developer of Tao. This is kind of our first community meeting, even a little late. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we've been doing on the network, allow folks a chance to chat. And then we've actually got something pretty big going on, which is really why I wanted to bring all this together. But I wanted to have some folks have the opportunity to present themselves and talk about what they're doing. So we did have a lot more folks lined up, but I think the impromptuness and the scheduling of this sort of knocked folks out of it a little bit. So, got some feedback there. Somebody, I can hear the audio through my own headphones, so please put some headphones in. Not sure.
Yeah, I've got some Apple ones in, so I think that should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was muted, so I don't think it was me echoing.
Oh, great. It must be my own headphones. Let's try this. All right. So now I'm not hearing myself anymore. No, actually, I still am. Fantastic.
Yeah, I hear a little echo.
Yeah, I hear it on everyone. It's not just you, Bryce.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, it still sounds like I'm in space a little bit.
No, you sound good, actually.
You're
Okay,
the one,
good.
you don't hear every viewer on you, but everybody else. Interesting.
Yeah, swapped out to a different pair of headphones.
All right, so permanently recorded all of us sitting here talking about the echo that we can all hear, but can't.
All good. Informal show opening.
Yeah. Right, yes, that was good. Good start.
All right, so let's kind of, I guess, we'll go around a little bit. We'll start with Pat. Pat is crypto OG from forever.
Yeah.
And I think we first ran into each other in Blackcoin.
Probably. I pretty much started everything that I've done in crypto with Blackcoin. Do you want just like a little background? Give you like 5 minutes?
Yeah, well, okay, so let's do it this way. Pat Crypt is the Bitcoin Talk administrator and moderator. So if you see the Tauron account on Bitcoin Talk, that's Pat.
Yeah.
So Pat, go ahead, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself and where you came from in crypto.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I am the moderator since about December of last year. I say moderator because you can't really moderate the comments in that thread. I think it's just a case of me altering the original post and making sure that it reflects what I've heard and know and think I can believe in of the network. And it's I've been around crypto for 5 years and a bit, since November 2013. Mined
Probably
a
feels
load
like
of stuff.
25, huh?
Oh, I know. 6 months worth of mining, which basically started me off into trading, and then that was it. I didn't actually put a penny into crypto from the start. Just sort of traded my way up to a point where I held a load of stuff. My first interaction, I think, with some of your coins was when Blackcoin was listed. It was Bittrex did an experiment where they had Blackcoin as a base pair, and the first coin that got added was Dirac as a pair to Blackcoin. And I remember tweeting something like, "Good luck, mathematicians," because I couldn't figure out the price of either of them at that point. It was impossible. Everything's based in Satoshi, and that wasn't, so it was incredibly hard work. It was one of your experiments, I think. Good old Dirac. So yeah, that and Zeta Coin, and obviously your video, the altcoin shitcoin video that you did, that kind of introduced me to you via, that. Like everyone kind of must have seen that if they know of you, the original video. And I was kind of active in the Zetacoin community because we were all trying to figure out what the hell was going on with that thing, with the whole rumor of the big African thing. So we all collectively learned so much about the African telecommunications system. It was actually quite good.
Okay. So now I got to interrupt you, because that's seriously like one of the most underreported aspects of the entire Zetacoin affair. is we all finally figured out who Safaricom was, and
yeah.
knew infinitely more about African telecom regulation than anybody on the entire earth could possibly know.
Everyone was fishing out documents from all ends of the web. And there was even an API that Safaricom had that included some crypto stuff. And somebody found that, and it was complete coincidence. But we were just convinced by the smallest thing we could find that it was real. But yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good old days. And it was just the madness of 2014 as well, with coins every 5 minutes being launched, and you just didn't know what to do. But I mean, I was there. Blackcoin for me was the big one because I was there when it was a bit like this morning. Actually, I got up at 6 o'clock to mine it, and it just felt like part of it from the start. And I thought it was a different experiment. And it, obviously had its enormous pump in April 2014, which I held all the way through like an idiot, like I always do. And just became part of that, and that's kind of that's always springboarded my future trading and investments. I've always put a bit of Blackcoin. So when I bought into Tao, I looked back at my trading history not long ago, and I actually cashed out a little bit of Blackcoin just to get the Bitcoin to buy into the Tao crowd sale. So it's kind of always been that sort of dabble, punt on something, and that's what Tao was, really, just a punt. And here we are.
And just to kind of comment a little bit on some of the things you said, when you talked about the trading, you basically were just flipping coins like anyone else. And what you said was you essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, keep a reserve of funds in coins that you hodl, and then trade those in and buy something newer, and then maybe even move it back into that original asset of.
I had it. I think I've always sort of ended up saying I've got mental health issues with certain coins. So Blackcoin's one of them that I always wanted to get my stash back out of whatever I was going into. So yeah, I'd always have a little reserve. I've still got some. I've still got the original coins I mined on the day it launched. And I had a mining period of a week before it became proof of stake. So it's quite nice to it's like a collectible almost, a bit like what we're doing here. I just feel like I can't give them up ever. Part of history. So
I mean, that's the use case, and it was the reason why we went with the whole IIO model was exactly everything you said. These were the inherent sort of behavior characteristics of people all across the crypto space. They'll find a coin that they love and they'll hold it forever, no matter what. And it doesn't matter. It's not even about the money after a certain point with some of these coins. And when something goes beyond, something monetary goes beyond the monetary value, that's the thing that builds generational brand value and all the things that everybody really talks about when you want to build a company. Crypto does some of the most hardest things for corporations. It does it without even thinking. And that collectability of it, that wow, the tokens I have in my wallet remind me of this other time and of what was going on at the. I mean, that's sort of a connection to the coins. Man, that's not in software. Nobody predicted that would happen. That's not in any of Satoshi's notes, except for maybe the one passage he had, of course, which is also a pillar of what we're doing, where when he compared Bitcoin to baseball cards and other collectible commodities. And that was literally about as close as he got. And I don't think that there was anybody, even Satoshi himself, that predicted anything like this would happen. So, when we kind of some jobs are just like what people pick up and they want to just throw in and put forth effort in a particular area. But Pat was somebody I approached specifically to run a Bitcoin Talk thread because of his experience in the crypto community and understanding not only it's not really a matter of having friends or connections or anything like that, but it's a matter of understanding what really is trolling and what isn't, and what Bitcoin Talk, because it's such a unique sort of community, even inside crypto, they still think they're relevant, but it's really kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I do find it is just a bit of a bubble, of their own type. So I'm very aware that all I want to do is state boring facts on there. It's what else can you do? They're always going to be there. I think there's just a concerted effort to shoot down most projects. I mean, obviously, Bryce, you've been in so many various altcoins that have your reputation precedes you, if you like. And there's people out there who just want to cause trouble. I think the trolls have a place because they do call people out on things, and you've got to have a bit of balance in the world, otherwise it all just looks a bit too perfect.
Well, no, you're right, and I think that the trolls sort of formed this basic level of fuck off in the industry, where it really prevented a lot of folks from like, for instance, Brian Kelly, Nautilus coin, another coin that I worked on. Brian Kelly completely misunderstood the space when it came in. And I mean, even using like a coin generator and all the stuff that he went through in order to launch Not. And even still misread what was coming back in the feedback. And it's from the communities themselves and from Bitcoin Talk. And Not was a disaster before it was a disaster. I mean, if you really look back into the timeline of events and look at the conversations on Bitcoin Talk, you could see that he really didn't get what people were talking about or what was important to anybody inside these communities. You can't listen to the hype in crypto and then try and implement crypto based on that hype. You just can't. None of it's real.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's where I think Bitcoin Talk serves its purpose, in that it proves people are not false, and they're not just carpetbaggers coming in to make a few bucks off of a gullible community. So I agree, they absolutely serve a purpose, but 9 times out of 10 it's just garbage.
Yeah, I think it's almost had its day, really. It felt like that at the end of 2014, that the rush.
Felt like that for you.
Yeah, we're 5 years kind of progressed. And to be honest with you, because I've kind of been outside of the community, even though I've spent the last 2 years in Tao, it's like I just read constantly what's going on. And the industry really doesn't feel like it's moved on brilliantly in that time. That's why I don't trade anymore with just random stuff. I don't really buy into the hype anymore. So it's quite nice to be in a project that I think has a real world use case. And that's been the sort of thing I've always been interested in, which is why I ended up in Zetacoin. So I actually believe that there might be a real world use case there, even if it did turn out to be rubbish. This has been, quite an interesting project to be in from the start, because it always was going to be a use case, even before you pivoted to alt market. And obviously there was the alt market, the original one, which I found some tweets when I was having a look yesterday from the original, asking you questions in 2014 about it, and that it's now finally going to be realized. So it's quite exciting. I'm sure it's really exciting for you. It's exciting for me because it's 5 years in the making also, to see it come about.
My dog wants to be in the video.
Oh, nice.
So and let's kind of segue that a little bit to ACG, who sort of is our resident propagandist. Every coin needs a propagandist. Get the message out there and stomp on trolls. Why don't you talk a little bit about yourself and how you found Tao, ACG?
All right. I just want to give a quick shout out to Throwaway Tao on Bitcoin Talk and just point out I'm not Bryce.
So for posterity, hold on now, because it's a video and this is going to exist forever. There's as Pat was saying, when I make coins, people crawl out of the woodworks to troll them because I don't know, I guess. And this one particular individual has been insistent that ACG and I are the same person, which we're not. So please continue.
I'm still doubtful. I'm still not sure.
It's all staged. We did this on purpose just to make people think that we're not the same person. It's actually my roommate.
We found you out, Bryce.
I'm sorry.
Telling secrets. It's all right. So let's see. Basically, I first heard about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in the broadest sense in I guess what was it, January 2009 when it was first launched.
Wow.
And I did not, unfortunately, get into it in any way at first. I wasn't discounting it, or a lot of people were dismissive initially when they first hear about it. And I did not, because I actually, it all, there's all these precedents that led to it. And it's not like it came out of nowhere. So I just immediately recognized it and was very excited by it. But my life was not really allowing me to actually pursue any, getting into it and, running the wallet, doing anything at all. So fast forward to 2013, and my life had settled down just a little bit. I had some free time a little bit. And so, and then, the bull run that was starting to happen got it back on my radar. I was like, oh, that's right. Let me check this out. So I basically just went down this little rabbit hole where I was like, okay, can I mine it? And I immediately, nope, I cannot do that. And so I then tried mining, like jumped over to Litecoin, and I immediately, that was my bridgeway into the altcoins. And I mined that for like 3 days. And I was like, I'm getting a tiny little fraction of a Litecoin. I don't like this. What else can I do? And so I have an approach in life where I kind of look and see what is everybody else doing. And I try to find a different way of doing things or do something entirely different. And I kind of hit on the concept of, and this is an obvious thing these days, but I didn't see a lot of people doing this at first, trying to jump on to a coin the very day it launched, the very moment it launched, to mine it immediately. And I mined like Dogecoin, for example, on the day it launched. And then I sold it.
OG spec miner.
Yeah. And I sold it. I made enough money from that and I did this with an older PC, a gaming PC that I had. And I just basically kind of repurposed it. And then I used it to buy a second PC and an ASIC. From the results of my Dogecoin adventure. And then that just sort of led me on to just, let me experiment. And I started thinking about, and around somewhere and towards the late 2013, I think is when it was, I discovered Bryce's feed on Twitter and immediately noticed that he seemed to be saying things. I don't know. There was a difference between what he was saying and what everybody else was saying. And I was seeing a commonality in our thought process that was not identical, but sort of complementary. And let's see. So basically, I started kind of thinking about a formula. What would be the success formula for a mainstream adoption of a cryptocurrency? And one of the factors that I came up with was celebrity. And I recognized the fact that a regular average person is just never going to, most people don't care about technology. They use technology for social reasons. And, because they see everybody else using it and there's a social benefit to it, not because they think the technology itself is cool. And I'm weird, so I go after the actual technology and that's what I think is cool and the applications of it or whatever. But I recognize that if it was mainstream, it's not going to need to appeal to me. It needs to appeal to the average regular person. And so celebrity would be part of that. And so I just kind of was, and Bryce was doing certain public musings along those lines too, in terms of what's a formula. I don't know if you ever put it that way or not, but, so I was filling in some gaps with what he was saying. And then I was having my own thoughts. And then fast forward to, Tao launches and I'm like, okay, this seems like it might be matching the formula, possibly. And Bryce is putting out these little data points, like Peter Rafelson and whatnot, where I could see that there was something happening, where there was some actual tie to the music industry and so forth. And so I just kind of like, okay, I'm going to put a little bit of money in, and I bought in on the ICO, and then more data points came out, and I was able to just kind of connect dots, and I also saw a through line that was sort of some continuity that was going on with what Bryce was doing. It didn't seem like just random flailing as a lot of people would interpret it, but I saw some kind of process and some kind of, it wasn't a straight line, but it was shifting back and forth and kind of honing in on something.
I don't believe you. There's no way there's a method to the madness.
Yeah. Madness and method can happen.
Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah. So, and then basically, I just kind of picked up a little more Tao here and there over the course of the, next 6 months or so, when nobody was paying any attention to it. I was watching that market, and I was just about the only person buying at certain times. I won't say when. So eventually I started posting in Bitcoin Talk thread to document some of those data points. And I figured there might be other people out there who had the same approach as me. and we're just looking for where, okay, can I see validate that something is actually happening here? And so I just started documenting stuff, and eventually it got into me sort of wrestling, verbally wrestling with trolls and stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much it.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned that we should probably talk about for posterity, and that's kind of the way I look at this video, is really a lot for posterity. It's ICO. That's something that really kind of screws with people like data aggregators and exchanges that want to list the coin, because we're listed on a bunch of ICO sites around the world, and in apparently dozens of languages, including Vietnamese. And so the reach of the information that we put out there is pretty broad, but the accuracy, not even there, not even close. And there's now, so this brings up a few points where number one, here's a blockchain that's a cryptocurrency like every other cryptocurrency, but it ICO, and it's also mineable through a consensus mechanism, which an ICO that can be processed, where you can continue to earn tokens at home, that's straight up 2014. Like, nobody does that anymore. Every ICO is either a centralized production like EOS, or you have something like an ERC20. And that's why, and that was one of the things that I thought was, in 2016 when we launched, I didn't think that'd be an issue. But now exchanges, some of the newer exchanges that have come up since 2016, 2017, they don't even realize there's the difference between an ERC20 and an altcoin.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you're going to be, you're asking people to trust you with their money in this space, and you can't tell the difference between an ERC20 and an altcoin. That blew my mind. Like, wow, the bottom is definitely not in yet, because you can start to see, and just in that kind of thing, because that's just one thing, and that's a major thing for a crypto business, any crypto business that's going to be accepting these tokens, much less an exchange. And man, that's scary. There is, so even while the future looks bright, we're all headed to the moon, there are still some infrastructure issues that we have to nail down that I think might lead to some interesting things, at least some stuff I can tweet about in the next couple of years as exchanges begin to collapse, because not for financial reasons, but because they have technically screwed something up. If you can't tell the difference between an altcoin and an ERC20, what kind of code development do you have as far as maintaining blockchain and best practices? You can't even tell what best practices to implement. You don't even know what kind of tokens you're working with. So that's really scary, super scary. But
sad.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And sad.
Well,
how do you think that comes about, though?
I'm sorry, Pat, go ahead.
I say, how do you reckon that comes about? Because to run an exchange is not a sort of, something anyone can do, but it's just the fact that there's code bases out there for entire platforms that people are just buying, just running without knowing what the hell it does.
Maybe even I'm giving them a little bit too much credit, but part of me feels a little bit of it is just laziness, where they're just kind of shotgunning out, across every single thing that they just read was called an ICO. So they can just basically say, extort, in numbers rather than in quantity rather than in quality.
Oh, without a doubt. And I get marketing emails all the time from across the space, and anybody, who works in this space can attest to this kind of crap. They're awful. They are the worst cold call emails of any industry I have ever worked in, ever. And I've worked in I've managed strip clubs, this is the worst marketing ever. Strippers have better marketing than crypto. And I make jokes, but it's really not. It's not even a joke. It is not even a joke that an exotic dancer puts more thought into her personal brand and presentation than most crypto networks and most exchanges and most other products. There's still this, if you build it, they will throw money at you mentality. And that those days are gone. They've been gone for a year at least. or a year and a half at this point. It's over. But folks are still developing and still working and still running their businesses like it's not. So, you know, when even if the price goes up, what I think will happen is all of these businesses built on garbage, the next bull run that happens, they'll be completely unstable and they'll collapse. We'll see entire portions of the industry just fall out.
Landslide away.
Yep. No, exactly. Landslide away.
Yeah. Foundation's taken out.
So, Terrence, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll talk a little bit about Infinity Music and what we've got going on in that front.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I'm T.S. Moreau in the both on the Discord and in the Slack chat. I came to crypto way later than you guys. I was part of the 2017 crop and was, I guess, one of the lucky ones to come out of that kind of whole process. In the sense that I came out with my shirt still on and some tokens still floating around the ecosystem, including Tao. And so when I was kind of making my way through the ecosystem and trying to, like, you know, learn as much as I could about this stuff and trying to make my way through the marketing, basically, what read to me as a lot of marketing. Which was fascinating on a whole other psychological level, but like when you're trying to understand, like, wait, is there anything to this tech? Like, it's still around? Is it good for anything? Like, what when you're coming at it with that mentality, and everyone is doing their snake oil, save the world in various capacities thing, it was difficult to kind of try to find some genuine ground to stand on when analyzing the industry. Mostly in a certain way, I think that was just because I was so amateurish in that, like, I don't come at this with a financial mindset or anything. So a lot of the phraseology and the terminology is Greek to me. But the structure of how people talked about things was just odd. And so I think like ACG said, as I was making my way through the wilds of crypto Twitter, you know, trying to decipher what DeSantis was talking about and running into other people as well, I found Bryce. And a lot of the way that he talked about things resonated, purely just in the sense of, like, guys, this all can't be the hopium that you think it is, kind of thing. And then, you're able to talk about, like, the actual technical language, the base parameters and variables by which these systems function. That was more than just like, you're you know, a fun character. Like, you know what you're talking about.
So let me pause you for a second. Could you hit on something really awesome that I think needs to be discussed, and it ties into a little bit about what I was talking about with ACG and Pat, which is when you first hit crypto Twitter, it's got its own beat, and it's really tough to dance to, and it takes a while, and I'm not sure if that's something that we did or something that sort of grew up out of all of our customs and you know, and means of doing things. But it does take time to figure out what the hell everyone is talking about, even if you understand all the words, even if you understand what all the words mean.
I don't think of it. I mean, in the old days, it wasn't called crypto Twitter; it was called Twitter, and people who were talking crap about altcoins, and then it's just developed into its own niche. It kind of gave birth to itself.
And no, exactly. And you know, there are very subtle and unspoken cultural sort of signals, and that, I mean, man.
I would think it was weird if those things didn't accrete, you know?
No, true. Very true. So please continue about on your journey. I just want to interrupt you there.
So Bryce, when I found how you were discussing the space, I was like, this is information I can triangulate off of accurately, basically. And in trying to figure out, just from a layman's perspective, what are the variables by which all of this shit functions? And then going into as well, discovering Bitcoin Talk for myself, and going through and reading about, what does block time actually mean? What is the difference between a POS and a POW network? How does all of this, what is DPO? Who has tried all of these experiments? How far have they taken them?
What were the head is slowly disappearing from the video.
Oh, sorry about that. Got too animated. But yeah, just in trying to go through all of this and find the actual parameters by which which some of this stuff functions, I had to eventually kind of get to Bitcoin Talk to find, oh, okay, here's where I can find list of block times. I got lost in POS shitcoins for a little while and learned a lot. It's honestly why if you look into the Discord, I occasionally argue about the way that the Tao staking parameters work, because I got into a few. That's why I knew what black was initially, because yeah, you play with some of these things at a really low level, purely just to go, how does this function? And that was the part that once I kind of got like, oh, okay, all of this stuff, is basically the same on the back end, and it's the initial starting parameters that create this emergent structure, that only a few people were talking about things from that perspective. And you were one of those, Bryce. So when I found that you were talking about Tau, and I started to actually look at some of the network parameters, and go, okay, long block time. Oh, okay. I still couldn't tell you technically what transaction comments are, except to say that they add additional data to each transaction, and that data can be used to create things like programs, can be used to things embeddable bits of code, and all of that stuff I was looking at and going, oh, well, that seems to be multifunctional and really cool and all of this, and seems to fit with like I say, with the long block times, with the long maturation time and all of this. So I was looking at this and going, this doesn't operate like any of the other POS shitcoins I've been playing with. This doesn't operate like these, 30-second block time, 25 trillion things, and it's a race to the bottom. You realize really quickly it's a race to the bottom to see who can exit first in all of these things. And the network parameters of Tau were not set up like that. And I noticed that. And then the way that you
let me interrupt you, because you're dropping nuggets here. So for crypto people, for randos who might be watching us, the network parameters of an altcoin will be able to tell you if it's a pump and dump or not. When you're looking at if the coin has fast block times, fast emission times, ultra staking, super staking.
Yes.
What's that?
No, those terms you're using, I'm like, oh God, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. Super blocks.
Yeah.
Are another one where you get these massive payout rewards. All of those things are pump and dumps, and you can look at those parameters and you can tell. And now 2 years on, you can use Tau as a baseline. And anything that any POS coin or anything along those lines that diverges too drastically from the economic structure of Tau simply isn't viable long term. It's just not. So please continue.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be just on that note real quick. I'll be really curious to see how Peercoin continues to evolve, considering it's this real ultra long-term experiment, and how that particular thing will play out. Anyway, once I started following you, kind of dove into the community a little bit, started slowly buying in, was also exiting the market at the same time, and so was looking at like where can I place what I'm willing to leave in this crazy experiment. And Tau was where I was willing to place a lot of it. And so in interacting with the community more, I'm not all that technical. Most coding I can do is HTML and a little bit of PHP. So I'm not. I really felt I couldn't contribute to a lot of what the problems that the community was having were. So when the opportunity for me to have some contribution where my skill set could be appropriate, I leapt at it, and that was the music festival that Infinity Music and Tau is working on, and the stuff that is being scoped and considered and planned. And when I say scoped and considered and planned, I do mean in from a high level way, but also there are folks really looking at the hard-nosed back end of like, how are we actually going to put this together, design it, and make it happen? And the team, which I'm not even the most important guy by any means. I joke that, I mean, I made this joke in the chat, but like I'm the non-com. My experience in doing events type stuff is I'm the guy who's been on the ground, running it in the moment. When something crazy breaks or when some drunk person is going nuts or somebody parked their car crazy, I get to go and deal with it.
All right,
it's been a little.
Hold on. We got to rewind a little bit.
Went down a rabbit hole there. Sorry, Press.
No, we did. And we got to rewind a little bit because you really blew past some important stuff that we need to stress. We got to remember we're talking about posterity. We're talking for posterity here. So Infinity Music is a company that I started in January 2017, and it is a fully functional record label. It is a paper record label, essentially a shell record label. It's got all of the industry memberships and regulatory requirements in order to be able to issue music, collect money, and pay people for making music. That's what a record label does. And one of the, we did this, of course, so we would have the infrastructure to be able to onboard new talent, emerging artists, and be able to leverage not only crypto, but all of our entertainment network connections towards their career. Now, we did this actually with Young Dirty and ODB Coin, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Whereas, the 2018 was the year of Young Dirty. That was the breakout of his career. We started promoting him in March with a humongous press push, and then in conjunction with ODB Coin, and then promoting him again in October, where we attended this conference in LA. We had all sorts of people come, and Young Dirty was there. And folks were taking celebrities or selfies with him because there was an actual celebrity at a cryptocurrency conference. It was amazing. Watching, there's this whole conference. And everybody was there because there's always the same folks at these conferences. And like basically when Young Dirty was there, he commanded the entire conference area. There was literally a mob of 40 people around him any single time that we were standing still. That's so when we talk about, some of the things that AC was talking about with the power of celebrity, we absolutely demonstrated that inside crypto, literally inside of a cryptocurrency convention. We brought a celebrity into the convention just to see what would happen. And it was everything that you thought would happen. Absolutely everything. So when, that particular conference, the next week, we got Young Dirty booked on Jimmy Fallon. So, and then 2 weeks after that, Young Dirty performed live with Wu-Tang twice in November of last year. So what we were able to do is we could take somebody who's got raw talent, got all the connections, has everything going for them, and then we can take, and this was still, it was kind of like low-hanging fruit, right? So we take this talent and we turned him into a star on the national stage, and we did that in 1 year. 1 year.
And he's touring now, right?
And he's touring now. And that we're going to continue to elucidate on that as we go on, but the concept of how to take an artist, what we call is dive bar to rock star, where we can find you in a club and put you out on the national stage within 24, 36 months, and it's like a machine. And we built out that machine using Young Dirty as our example. So that leads a lot into some of the things you're talking about with the festival. Infinity Music is a Tao owned company. This is something we really need to talk about. Alt Market and Tao. Alt Market is, we'll talk about that in a minute. The two major companies that are using the Tao network are owned by the Tao community. Almost 100%. And we did this that when people had to buy into these companies with cash to obtain equity. However, what we did was we allowed individuals to apply what Tao they owned already as credit towards their equity. So you didn't have to spend the Tao. You just had to prove via a signed message that you owned the Tao. And this was also used as a way of accrediting investors that they understood the kind of investment that they were putting their money in. And we're talking about investment because these are safes, and alt market, of course, is a 506C on file with the SEC. So these are real, actual, contracted investments. These are actual equity investments. And the accreditation, of course, was you understood everything we were talking about. Is you have to own the token. So what this created was not only a proper way to tell if people were just throwing their money away, that they were actually decent investors, and it was also a means to include the community directly in the long tail of profitability, not just owning the token, not just staking the token, but actually giving them a vested interest in the companies that are building things with the token itself. And I a lot of people question the wisdom of that, allowing quote unquote randos on the internet to essentially tell you what to do. But you know what? It was one of the best decisions I've made. In fact, I would recommend this to anyone looking to start up a company in the crypto space. It has built-in network effects, and I can't stress it enough. I could probably write a book on how much value there is through launching a token and then incorporating it slowly into all of the other things that you actually want to do, instead of launching a token and having it be like this utility token coin operated arcade bullshit where it's this crazy business model that nobody understands and never makes money. Like, oh, it'll make money in like 2192 when Ethereum takes over the planet, and then suddenly, all of this has value. That's literally the only scenario in which most of these tokens are ever going to profit. So we took a distinctly different approach in that, and of course you just highlighted it right there. So I also want to, without dominating the conversation too much, I do want to talk about something else you mentioned, which was transaction comments. This is kind of like Tao's technical secret sauce. And it's such a simple concept that as soon as transaction comments have been around since 2015, this technology, it needs a better nomenclature, because to call it a transaction comment is rather belittling as to what it is.
The opposite of calling something a smart contract.
Just initially, the technology was developed so you could attach a small note to a transaction. That's it. So if you were conducting commerce, you could attach, for instance, you could put a PO number in the transaction and then associate that PO number with your own account. That's all it was for initially. But what I realized very quickly was you could put more stuff in there than just a PO number. And Bitcoin SV has kind of brought to the public consciousness the ability to store binary data on these blockchains. So what a transaction comment actually is a free-form data field in which you can stuff any sort of data. It's kind of like an op return on crack. But unlike an op return, it does not operate using the script coding. Op return is kind of a sloppy sort of hack for storing data. Whereas the transaction data comment, we call them the data field in the comment, internally development-wise. Externally in the crypto world, everybody knows them as transaction comment. The transaction data field is external to the scripting algorithm, and therefore allows for a lot more flexibility, especially for the cost.
Would it be wrong to say it's kind of equivalent to it almost runs in its own virtual machine?
Okay, so really funny. You can actually run Ethereum Solidity on Tao.
I didn't even mean to make that. Yeah.
No, seriously. And this was actually something the Counterparty did that runs on Tao. Counterparty was able to take Solidity opcodes and put them on the Counterparty, the Bitcoin blockchain, and run them in a specially adapted Ethereum virtual machine. Excuse me. Tao actually can do the same thing, except our transaction comments are 1,024 bytes.
Bigger, yeah.
Yeah, so it's bigger. It's actually 5 times bigger or 10 times bigger. than what can be stored in the Bitcoin blockchain. So it's much more efficient. And because we have it pulled out of the scripting paradigm into its own lane, essentially, design lane. Well, what that does is it allows us to be infinitely more flexible with it, especially in the realm of fees. How much does it cost to store this data? And so, for instance, on Tao, we have a very specific fee schedule for the inclusion of data in transaction costs. So when you pull it out of that op return paradigm, now you can actually price it as far as the fee structure as its own entity. So if you don't use transaction comments, you don't pay the fee for them. But if you do use transaction comment, that's what you're going to pay. You're going to pay a special fee.
Bryce, it almost sounds like you're saying you designed it this way.
I
mean, there's no way you did that, right?
I don't want to brag, but I might have thought about it a little bit.
I mean, the thing is, from everything that I've seen, the openness of what people can do there is almost the enemy to people adopting it, in the sense that a single scripting approach is just easier for people to rally around, I would guess. Obviously, I'm guessing kind of out of the blue here, but it seems to me that almost the power of it is just people don't know what to do with that kind of thing. They give them a syntax, you know what I mean? Give them a structure, you know.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't even know what to do with it. The number one use case for anything right now, for any kind of programmable, blockchain scripting language, the only thing anybody can figure out what to do with it is make tokens. Doesn't matter what it is, what blockchain. There's no use case for any of this crap other than making tokens.
But what about things like we could use them in festivals? Those tokens sound really cool. That we could.
Okay, so let's kind of go back to this a little bit. So, and you really just launched into that without any preface at all. So,
yeah, my bad.
Talk about this a little bit. A bunch of us. So, Infinity Music, right, is the record label, and we a bunch of us in the community, it turns out, have professional experience with major festivals. There's a couple of guys in the community that are heavily involved in Burning Man. There's a couple of guys in the community heavily involved in the East Coast party scene. Myself, I've been involved in the Lightning in a Bottle and the psychedelic circuit in California since about 2010. So we kind of woke up one day, and what really spawned it was we were all sitting around watching Netflix one night, watching the Fire Festival, and essentially maybe about half a dozen people all at the same moment had this like, man, we could do this so much fucking better than this Joker. And we actually literally had the thought within the same week, and we all started talking about it in Slack, and then we decided we were going to do this, and we raised some money. We raised a few $1,000s just to kind of explore the idea, to hold a couple meetings out here in LA at our studios. If folks don't realize, our offices are inside of RMC Studios in North Hollywood, and so we had some folks down in the studios, and basically yourself, Terrence, were there, and kind of hashed out the ideas and saw what was plausible and what wasn't. And it turned out that we had an amazing set of ideas. And that's where the Infinity Festival was born. And we've gotten really far down the rabbit hole on how to plan and what the festival is going to be like. It's going to be a music festival, 3-day camp out in a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous campground here in Santa Barbara. And because Santa Barbara is considered the American Riviera, it's an international tourist destination, 5-star hotels, accommodations that you would find in some of the finest cities in Europe. And we're going to do that here. We're going to deliver on the failure of Fire Festival in a way that could only really be done in a place like Santa Barbara. So we've even gone so far as to in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I talked to the landowners, and they got their tacit approval for being able to do this. But we're still so far down the line on this. This event won't be until spring of 2020. And when you want to plan a music festival, it's going to take you 12 to 18 months. I mean, if you watch the Fire Festival doc, you will see that was the number one thing that they screwed up. And we're all pros. We've all done this. My first company, when out of high school, was a concert production company where we threw outdoor pop concerts. My largest attendance was 15,000. We had Shooty's Groove and 311 and Taj Mahal. So this is not outside of the realm of anything that we're not really trying anything new here. In fact, what's new is doing it all together and leveraging cryptocurrency towards it. So the festival itself is going to be.
Yeah, how do you even start? I mean, like, where do you even begin with some of the stuff that like has been thrown around?
You can't. I mean, with the experience itself, we are integrating certain technologies into the festival experience, and we actually we have one of these vendors is actually flying out to LA to talk to us and meet with us in person at the beginning of April yet again. In order to demonstrate their technology for us in person. They're so excited. Now these are companies that are out there in the entertainment industry, and they do these things, and they got their own jam going, and then we would come along with our crypto crap and throw a complete monkey wrench in everything they thought their product was. And we're like, hey, you got this really great product. We'll do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell? Where did you even come up with that? Like, they have no idea. And so the way that we're implementing this is something really, really unique. It's going to be an experience unlike anyone else, anything else. No festival you've ever been to is anything like this. Maximum 5,000 attendees. And we are having Coachella level stars. That's really the draw here. We've talked to a couple bands. Somebody suggested some acts at the meeting we held last month, and I've reached out to some of them, and the responses have been very positive. So we're planning on. I mean, like, so imagine Coachella with 5,000 people in a private event that you can't buy tickets at the door, and it's a 3-day camp out where you're literally camping out next to the stars. And in fact, you don't even have to camp out. There's it's Santa Barbara. It's the American Riviera. It's an international tourist destination. There are 4 Michelin star restaurants in town. There are 5-star resorts in town. For instance, the Fess Parker DoubleTree, 5-star resort. And that's our VIP package. Fire Festival promised these massive bungalows, and screw that. We're just going to put you in a resort, and you can hang out and have brunch with the act, because if they don't want to camp out, we're gonna put the talent in the resort, and then shuttle them out to the grounds later. So there's not just one party; it's going to be multiple parties going on where people are going to have multiple different kinds of experiences. And what folks may not realize, and I know they may not, and I'm going to do this real quick because it's going to embarrass the shit out of me, but people really don't appreciate what it is that Tao does and why it's different. And we talk about this all the time. However, it's really hard to illustrate that, except when you have pictures of one of your founders and an advisor taking pictures and sending you selfies with fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in the middle of the day. Like, haha, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing? And actually, our
Peter is such a cool dude.
Yeah, that's Peter Richardson. He's the founder of RMC Studios, one of the co-founders of Alt Market, and our offices are in his building. And he's actually doing voiceover work for a new upcoming Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan movie. That's our company. That's what we do. And we don't trot that out. We don't brag about it. But it's important, because we don't brag about it, that every now and then we show people that it exists. Otherwise, you might just think we're just a bunch of chuckleheads on the internet, with I need a haircut, and I'm always late, and everything. Well, the reason why I need a haircut and I'm always late is because I got Arnold Schwarzenegger popping up on my phone. So this is literally the environment in which all of this exists. And when we say things like Coachella level stars, when we say things like A-list celebrities, we are not fucking around. We are probably the only project in the entire crypto space that has access to these individuals in a deep level. Not just we paid them to say nice things about us, but Arnold Schwarzenegger and Peter Rafelson are friends. Arnold and Arnie and Peter's, like Peter's dad is the guy who made Easy Rider, and in all of those movies through the 70s, worked with Frank Zappa, the eclectic 1970s cinema. That was Peter's dad, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's career actually grew out of that eclectic 1970s cinema. So these relationships are more than just hanging out on set. These are people that the folks in our company have grown up with their entire lives. It's not we're trying to break into Hollywood. Tao and Alt Market are Hollywood, and that's really tough to convey. But I think it's really important that we say it at least once now after 2 years. I always told people I had friends. I just never told people who they were. And this is the beginning of sort of unveiling a little bit of what we've got going on. So that's Infinity Music and Infinity Festival. And that being said, I'm going to drop a bomb. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have this week and why I was kind of rushed, and we were supposed to do this last night, and I just totally crashed out. I've been up for 48 hours. We actually just closed a deal. We've been working on for the last 2 weeks that we've not mentioned. Some of the equity holders know about it. The folks who own equity in the company always know things before the community. That's why they hold equity. They get the ability to see things as they happen. And I would say that it's much to the credit of the 20 or so folks that hold equity in these companies that none of this information is leaked. There's a lot of secrets that are kept in this community, so that when we talk about it, it has the desired effect. And it's not just me; it's also the folks on this call, such as the three of you, and of course the other folks that own equity, that all have a vested interest in keeping their mouths shut, and everybody does. So here's a surprise. This is the one thing I'm gonna put this at the end of the video. Right, we've been talking for almost an hour now, and so this is the big bomb. Kamal, in a company that he works with called Cage Change, which you may have seen in the chat, Joseph is actually the one of the ODB coin administrators. And we can talk about ODB coin and alt market a little bit. So alt market is an exchange platform that is essentially built around Tao and around the community and around the entertainment, the business model of using cryptocurrencies to serve the entertainment industry. And we're about to go online. I'm very proud to say that I was kind of hoping to launch it on Friday, but we found one error, and I wasn't satisfied with it, and everybody was really disappointed when I said that no, we can't launch with this. We have to fix it. But we're anticipating a launch next week. And we're gonna. This is our minimum viable product, our MVP platform. It demonstrates. We've already been demonstrating that we can do crowd sales. We've demonstrated that we can hold on to crypto in a custodial fashion in a wallet. That the wallet itself is usable on mobile and all kinds of other stuff. So now the rest of the exchange platform is about to come online. Real meat. And now you can buy and sell, currencies for U.S. dollars on U.S. soil, especially Tao and all of our products. And in order to kind of stress test things, this is the deal that we've arranged. So I don't even know how to preface this. We've cut a deal with the largest urban adult contemporary radio station in San Francisco. And it's a promotion that's going to run for a whole month in April, where there's going to be two of the on-air talent for their morning drive time they're going to stage an argument about which one of them knows more about crypto. And Alt Market is going to sponsor a trading competition between the two of them to see which one can buy the most crypto. And the specifics of the event are we are going to give them each $1,000 or $500 worth of Tao, and then they have to buy as much ODB coin as possible in 30 days. Okay, so the guy who's been in crypto for 6 years just groaned excitedly. The question is KBLX. You can look them up in their Arbitron ratings. They're the #1 hip hop radio station in San Francisco. They've got over 1 million listeners at any given moment. They own over 3.0 market share. This is huge because this is San Francisco. This is the entire tech community that exists in San Francisco, and we're going to do this right under their noses. Because I don't know many Silicon Valley folks that listen to hip hop radio. So this is going to go on literally inside of San Francisco, and most of the tech community is going to miss it until it's too late, and it's going to be right in their faces. And
that's devious.
Thank you. And it wasn't me. I got it. Joseph, who's the guy who is the moderator of the ODB Coin forums. And maintains that website on our behalf, along with Cody King N656. You may recognize it from our own community. This thing with KBLX is awesome. Nobody has ever done anything like this ever in the history of crypto. It took us 3 weeks to get them to even understand what we wanted, and another 2 weeks to get them to agree to it. And you know me, I don't talk about stuff unless the contracts are either so close to being signed or signed that there's no backing out. And everybody at this radio station is so excited about what we're doing because the long-term potential of this sort of partnership is amazing. I mean, it's off the hook. No radio station has ever partnered with a cryptocurrency to try and do anything ever, especially something that is not. What we're doing is so in tune with, pun intended, with their existing listener base that it's almost a no-brainer that this is going to work, and it's going to bring 1 million listeners during morning drive time for 30 days in San Francisco. That's what we're talking about. That's the media exposure we're looking at in April. Off the hook. Off the hook. I mean, I'm even thinking about changing the banner on the front of Alt Market to say "Welcome to KBLX," because that's literally, and so I want to say too that when I know I piss people off when I tell them, screw crypto, don't listen to them, they're not important, and people go, Bryce, but you don't get it, man, you don't get it. Well, actually, I kind of do. And this is the thing that we've been holding out on. This is the kind of thing that we are now able to execute that nobody else can do because nobody else did things the way that we did them. Nobody else can be trusted the way that we can be trusted. Trustless systems are great once you're inside crypto. But if you're outside crypto, trustless systems are the worst effing thing on the planet, and you do not even want to mess with them. And the one thing that you need to get from one side of that looking glass to the other is somebody you trust. And that I think that's so just underhyped because most of the people in crypto are simply not trustworthy. So you don't want to hype the fact that trust is important in order to onboard normies. But so what we did was we built that trust. And we built that trust by making everyone else in crypto hate us. And I mean, there was no other way to do it. There is no other way that somebody's going to trust you to not be like everybody else, except if they can go to everybody else and say, what do you think about that guy, Bryce Wiener? And they go, what a fucking scammer. I would never work with that guy. Screw him.
What's that old saying about keeping your enemies close?
I say all the time, pick your enemies with more care and attention than you pick your friends.
Can you go into more detail, Bryce, about what's happened in the last couple of years with you, sort of making sure that everything that this embodies is completely regulatorily fine? I mean, there's so much that we've heard about with this that, and the weird thing is that you kind of saw it coming as well, because obviously the whole crypto world is now talking about regulation and everything. You were kind of deep in that. Can you talk about how it got there? Because I think that's important for people to know about this product.
It hurts him they took this long to catch up.
Yeah.
Well, it's embarrassing. I mean, the reason why I'm going like this is because we did that. That didn't exist before us. That was me. I did that. And it was necessary in order to move crypto away from the precipice. Because, Pat, you remember back in 2015, ICOs were not new. Every third shitcoin that was launched was an ICO. And we saw this trend coming. And
yeah, they actually called them IPOs to start with. As a sort of, it was so obvious what was going on, and then they turned into ICOs, and they were basically mostly scams right from the start.
Yeah, and we knew. And you see, while they were scams, they were effective scams. And the things that crypto does in order to launch a coin isn't the same thing you do to launch an ERC-20. And so where the altcoins who did the ICOs were actually freaking commodities because they had to release a coin. So at the end of the crowd sale, you had to release software. And that means you're not investing in some future product. It means you're buying an existing product. And that's what makes ICOs to altcoins legal compared to ERC-20s. So I just knew that people were going to take this and do dumb shit with it because it worked. And of course, that was, Waves, I think, Lisk and Waves, I think, were the first two coins in 2016 to suggest this tokenized funding model. And essentially, the Ethereum community stole it and ran with it and made it theirs. And the ICO model was born. I mean, you can look at when the ERC-20 was created, and there were half a dozen projects that were way down the field on this before Ethereum jumped on the bandwagon, but they won because they had the money in the machine in order to implement all of this and take it across the finish line. Very similarly to how we have the money in the machine to implement with Hollywood and celebrity and radio stations and take that across the finish line. So it's not so when the regulatory stuff is always a headache. If you look at pictures of me from 2014, I was not gray like this. I was a young man in 2014. And literally, it's been the last 5 years of building. And when we talk about the first time I tried alt market, that's why there's 2 attempts at it. Because the first time I tried it, the regulatory space was absolutely impossible. There was nothing that could be done until we began to annoy certain regulators enough that they had no choice but to respond. And that was it. That was the only thing we could do. And annoying them in very specific ways because we knew exactly the kind of responses that they would make is what built up this regulatory framework to the point to where earlier last year, half of the alt market team could hop on a plane, fly to DC, and meet with all these regulators and politicians. And, again, for posterity, I guess we should say that last year, I was the very first cryptocurrency, the only first person who'd ever made a cryptocurrency that sat down and met face-to-face with the SEC, the CFTC, and the Office of Comptroller of Currency. And that's like the regulatory trifecta in the United States. Those are the 3 regulators that govern cryptocurrencies and how they operate in the U.S. And we blew their mind. Why when and I've said this several times, and I'll say it again for posterity. When I went to the SEC, they treated me like a rock star. It was such amazing respect and for what I had done and what I had accomplished. So when I say these things like annoying regulators, they know it too. This is not just simply a one-way thing on my part. We annoyed them a lot with what we were doing and annoyed them in the right way. and that appreciation was definitely returned when we actually had the chance to finally sit down. So this space is nothing like it was, and the reason why is because of us. And we never made a lot of noise. I mean, we didn't have to, but it worked, you know. And we wouldn't be here if it didn't. This product could not exist without it. It couldn't. It would be too ephemeral. It would be grouped in with everybody else and all the garbage that they're spewing, and it would be impossible to be doing this right now. Impossible. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so open with talking about it, because I know nobody can duplicate what we've done. There's no climbing that hill. There's no coming along after us with better execution and better contacts. You just can't. You'll never be able to build on top of what we built. And you can't even iterate forward on it. It's an amazing market position we've got, and I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. You know, everybody who's participated, from Kamal to Hakeem to Peter to Sean to Tom Osinski, our corporate attorney, to you know, Mark Lopresti, our securities lawyer, to everybody else who's participated in this project has really added to the zeitgeist of crypto without even knowing it. I mean, you know, it's not surprising that most of crypto doesn't realize what we've done, because most of the people on the project don't realize what they've done. And that realization still won't come for probably another year or so. But internally, we're already starting to see the manifestation of all of this work and all of this groundwork. And it doesn't matter what happens to the rest of the industry. And I mean that. Our business model, our cryptocurrency, and our ecosystem around Tao and around alt market is constructed in a manner that even Bitcoin could die and nothing would be affected in our business model, other than having to apologize to our customers that Bitcoin is now dead. However, life goes on. That's if your business can't say that, then you're not really future-proof. You're really betting your future on somebody else making the right decisions for you. And maybe a lot of folks in the industry don't have that ability, but if Bitcoin shits the bed, I can literally build a new Bitcoin. So I don't care. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin survives or not. I'll just make a new one. In
For
fact,
people who don't know what,
we'll get Ethereum to step up.
Oh God, sorry.
Oh no, Pat, go ahead. What was you saying?
All right. Firstly, Terence, we found out you're the culprit of the echo, by the way, because you muted and it stopped. So mute.
Oh goodness. Okay, mute it is.
Yeah. So what I was wondering is, if people are watching this and they don't actually know what alt market's for, give us an idea of the next 12 months, perhaps.
No.
Oh, you bugger.
And the reason, and if you look at, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but if you look at the alt market website, and even if you go to the Internet Archive and look at the way that the website has grown up, we've hidden it. We have not promoted what we're doing very well at all, and part of that is because what we're doing is such a new concept that we learned very quickly to stop trying to explain it. It doesn't get. Hey, Chris.
Oh, hey guys.
All right. So let me just introduce Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Get back to it.
Hi, everybody.
Chris
Hello,
is the producer of Infinity Festival under Infinity Music. So that's part of the Terrence crew.
Hi guys. Hey, Chris. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yes, it's complex. Complex.
I finally got on. It took me a minute, but I was figuring it out.
All good, man. So I was just kind of going through what alt market is and what it's for. And, you know, if you want the elevator pitch, I guess I'll give it to you. I pitched the project so much. It's not that I can't explain it. It's that I really don't like to. Because I feel it kind of takes away from the effect.
Well, you've given a lot of information out already with what alt market is trying to be and what it's going to do, probably. So.
Well, and if you look at everything we've talked about in the last hour and a half, what it is the glue that binds all of it together. It's the platform that enables the ecosystem to function by providing the economic engine to enable all of this creativity that's currently going in and enable it to monetize.
Well, you can make a Kanye coin, essentially. that's the best part of it.
I mean,
it's like, okay, so we have ODB.
I mind Kanye. I got that.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about ODB coin for a minute, because that, of course, is the big thing that we really haven't talked about. So we launched a coin that was a branded merchandise bearing ODB's likeness and persona. And we had some issues with the estate as far as how much understanding they had of the regulatory concerns. And after a certain point, we really didn't interface well with their legal team, and things sort of, they really didn't get it, even after a year, right? A whole year of going through this. So we didn't really have the pop on ODB coin that we wanted. However, we did accomplish all of our goals, and that's really the important stuff. It's not really, I mean, and for the first time out, it's not really the amount of money you make. It's literally the fact that you're not going to jail. And this was the huge thing about ODB coin. Kanye coin, you know, of course, everybody knows what happened to Kanye, you know, the whole gay fish meme and all that, because, you know, they did it without permission. And crossing that hurdle to be able to launch a cryptocurrency and launch a crowd sale, and not defy the wills of the rights holder, you know, that's something truly special. And not everybody is, how to put this? It's not an easy thing to get, you know, to launch a token, and it's not an easy thing to maintain a brand. And it's even harder to maintain a brand that is a cryptocurrency. So when it comes to the response of the estate during the sale, you know, I feel I have to give them a little credit where credit is due, to you know, kind of white knuckle their way through it, because it was such a vanguard attempt. And now that we've got it closed out, ODB coin exists. It's been distributed. It's in the wild. That, you know, it's a notch in our belt, and now it's just iterating forward. We have the platform. We know all of the downsides to everything, and that's why would I like to make more money? Sure, of course. Who wouldn't like to make more money? But man, it's so hard to say that that there was anything wrong with that sale, given even the climate. You know, everybody is wondering, you know, they're waiting for the fucking DOJ and the SEC to come through this space with a sledgehammer for all the open investigations they have. And here we are like, nah, GFY, we're going to go and launch a token sale in the middle of all this. Through you. And not only do that, but see, and that's why we don't talk about the business model of alt market very much, because it's like talking about the business model of Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin's use case is to change the world, and alt markets use cases to change crypto. And it, you know, that happens incrementally, a small step at a time. And Tao is the means by which we are going, like, you know, if Tao is the club, alt market is the arm that swings the club. And we're going to get some more businesses like alt market to participate with Tao. We've got 5 businesses total, 6 actually, that currently accept Tao for goods and services within the entertainment industry. So we have this ecosystem that's already been built inside of the entertainment industry that uses Tao as a means of settlement. So alt market now figures into all of the stuff that we built over the last 2 years, where it now allows for a much easier experience for monetizing and cashing out and buying in. You know, the alt market's major position in the marketplace is, if you hate everything else about crypto, you're going to like us. If you hate anything about crypto, you're going to like us, because we're not anything like anybody else. We guarantee you'll find something about us that you find intriguing and a reason to stay. and a reason to give us a shot to keep going. We're new. We know this. You know, I'm an old hand at this, but the project itself is so new that it's going to take people time to figure it out. But I got to tell you, this is going to, alt market is like the Fidelity investment of financial houses. And if you know what the difference is between Fidelity investments and someplace like Charles Schwab, that should illustrate for you pretty distinctly what it is I'm talking about. It's run, the Fidelity is a private company. And unlike most major financial houses their size, they've maintained their integrity and authenticity by remaining privately held and sticking to their own values, regardless of what the rest of the industry does. And that's the exact same way that we've approached this. We have a plan, and it's a 20-year plan. And it's not a 20-year plan for crypto. It's a 20-year plan for us. And the crypto comes with us. And as we grow, and as our things improve, and as our things get bigger and better, so do all of the cryptocurrencies that we bring with us. It's the other way around for us. Cryptocurrency isn't the vehicle. It's the thing we're towing behind us. So I guess that, you know, Christopher, I'm really sorry you showed up late. We pretty much kind of touched on everything, but I'm glad folks got to see your face as sort of the primary focus behind the Infinity Festival.
Yeah, we're doing some pretty cool things.
So without giving too much away, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself and your background and what we're doing with Infinity?
Hi, my name's Chris. I usually go by Chris Fergan. I'm actually like old school ravehead, and also like you know, like Burning Man type of community person member. So like I've thrown a lot of events before as well. So it's the things that we have planned already are really kind of cool, because we're trying to do like a music and technology festival that's never really been done before, with the combination of things that we've like I've never seen anybody use the technology that we're going to use the way that we're going to use it. So it's going to be really cool.
It's going to blow minds.
Yes. That's all I can really say for now. Yeah, I did miss a lot of everything that was going on. I'll probably catch it in the flip side of everything, but we're going to keep you posted with everything that we're doing on that end, and it's pretty wild. It really is.
So what I think we should do is I kind of want to put a pin in it here, and I do appreciate you showing up, Chris. I truly. I think it's really important that we
I'm at a shore house for a house party.
Oh, nice. Well, you can see behind me, like everything's missing. There's even an echo in my house because I'm.
I know. Where's Jimmy? I don't see Jimmy.
No, everything's gone. And literally the movers are showing up in like 8 hours to take my stuff down to my new place. So, you know what, I kind of want to put a pin in it here. And I want to say thank you to all of you for being here, and literally like not here on this broadcast, but here involved in this community. Because for me, being a developer, I can make, you know, software, but it doesn't mean shit if nobody uses it. And it means even less if people use it and they don't get anything out of it. If it doesn't make their life better, if it doesn't give them some joy, and at the very least, you know, I hate to go on Marie Kondo, but, you know, dump the coins that don't bring you joy. That kind of philosophy, this is everything I do means nothing without you folks. And I just wanted to take a moment personally to say thank you. I wouldn't have a career. I wouldn't have anything to do. I would be sitting in a cube all day long were it not for all of you. So for me personally, thank you so much for participating and giving me a platform to shout and scream and piss people off. And you can, we're going to change the world. And not
Let's do some really fun shit.
What? What was that?
What was that?
Let's do some really fun shit.
No,
yes.
Totally. You know, no limits on what we're able to accomplish here, and the kind of talent that we've been able to leverage. It's awe-inspiring. I'm just embarrassing myself. I can't. Thank you, everybody.
Bryce, you are so very welcome. I think I speak for everybody when I say that it has been quite a ride, and we look forward to the ride continuing.
Well, we're not done. Not by a long shot. So we're gonna do these regularly. I think it's really important that we begin to have this back and forth with the community. Obviously, this was like just thrown together, just a bunch of guys on a hangout. We'll kind of nail this down into a little bit more of a process. I mean, obviously, we've got a ton of production equipment. I mean, we've got a TV studio, so I mean, we could do this a lot better. And now that we've kind of gotten the flow of it and how things will move, we'll build it out into something a little bit better. But I think doing a Tao Talk maybe once every 2 weeks, twice a month, I think might be good, especially for the amount of stuff that we have going on. I can't sit and talk. I really didn't even want to talk this much. However, because of the way that that kind of screwed this up last night, we lost a lot of folks that were going to come and talk about what they're doing. So what that means is there's even more going on than what we've discussed here. And there are more people working on things who need to come and tell the world about what they're doing, so the world will understand that this is not me. I launched the thing 2 years ago. This is you guys now. And I mean that's what a developer lives for. So we're gonna have everybody on who's doing things and working on stuff, and give everybody a chance to participate and share, because the world needs to hear it. So with that, let's go around. Terrence, do you have anything? Any closing comments?
Everybody, buy Tao and stay involved and help out and come and talk to the community and see exactly what's going on. Because, like Bryce said, there is so much more. And yeah, we'll be back talking about it soon enough.
Pat?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's kind of my outing, if you like, sort of doxing my voice. So it's kind of been a big deal for me in terms of, breaking my crypto doxing voice virginity. So thank you for that platform. I'm really looking forward to next week and what you've promised hopefully will occur.
Chris?
Hey guys, I hope you want to be part of the ride. It's going to be really crazy.
Absolutely.
AC?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's definitely been interesting. And I'm going to just reiterate a point that you made earlier, or companion piece to it, or something that I have been saying for at least a year to 2 years to people on Bitcoin Talk, that the existing crypto community doesn't matter when mass adoption is what we're heading for. So looks like we're heading that direction.
Man, I don't think I've ever expressed the sentiment that succinctly, but you're right. If mass adoption is what you're after, the crypto community is unimportant.
By definition.
Folks, thank you so much. Let's just go ahead and cap it there. Have a great weekend, and until next time, good luck.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. I'll see you soon, brother.
Listen to music. You're hilarious. Like, hey everybody.
Hey everybody.
Party on! I'm at the Shore House. You guys don't know what Shore is because you're from there. But beach house. The beach house. Soaking in the tub.
That was perfect. I'm fucking hammered right now.
That's what we said. You're like, I'm in charge of the party. It's gonna be really exciting.
You know me.
Oh man.
That was really funny. I'm so glad I tuned in.
Oh my god! I sent you a text message saying I didn't know that you were just getting off.
No, it's perfect. I get to be silly. I get to be really silly. Baby, I'm still really good, even though sometimes I'm drunk.
Not everybody knows that.
No. That was good. I was just like, hey Chris, do you want to say anything? I was like, Get ready for some really fun things. And then laugh. You know what? Listen, I get to be myself.
That's true.
All right. My stuff is pretty fun. I like.
Oh yeah.
I think I portrayed myself consistently. I actually told them, I was like, I don't even know if I could show up tonight. And then I clicked on the link and I wanted to just watch it, and it was just like, Chris. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. So you guys can actually see me.
Oh God.
Yeah. Honey, you might want to drink a glass of water.
I know.
You know, you drink a glass of water for me. I'm worried about you. You did just get surgery. I know. I don't want you to tell me.
You're so relaxed. Maybe I would have been more relaxed if I went into the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wound up. I'm sorry, guys.
You should go.
No, not that. I would let that all fall.
I can do whatever.
Yeah. That's not.
I almost hope that I made a slight of an ass out of myself.
Please drink a glass of wine.
Did I? Did I?
Almost. It was close.
Yeah.
You were okay.
It was good.
We were like,
I was waiting for somebody to.
Kat was like, he shouldn't have taken this call. I was like, yeah.
It's okay. It's me.
I was waiting for somebody to say, Chris, could you please
Darling,
quiet?
baby, I'm gonna do this either way.
I know. But you should never take a business meeting call while you're intoxicated. Maybe stoned. A little.
Sir. No, I did pretty well.
No, you did. You did.
I was like, actually, I'm just here. I'll talk about this later on. But I was like, but immediately I talked about it. I was like, this is going to be really fun because what we're trying to do is very different. That's it. And now we'll tell you more. I won't tell you more. Like, this is what we're doing. What? I thought this was perfect.
No, it was. It was. But yeah, no. You did a good job.
Oh, come on. I'm gonna be there the second time, and this was less drunk. It's gonna be great. Maybe this is not like a job I can lose. You know what I mean? This is a job that this is a thing that if I don't do it correctly, and if it never happens, it was never my thing, and I want to throw a thing. I want to throw a party. Party. So what? This is what I get to try to do. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident in that.